I got the poor connection warning that just popped up. So as soon as that goes, I can see like your movement is clean, but your video quality is really low.
Gotcha.
There we go.
Okay.
You pop back up. Let's see. Let's see if I can see those baby browns. Hey, here's a
Tell me more
question.
about my eyes. All right, I'm going to ask you what we're watching.
I have the strangest boner right now.
He's Tony. I'm Mike. Welcome to episode 7 of Tony Mike Watch the World Burn! In this episode, we'll be reviewing 11/14. This movie is just like, nobody knows about this movie. Nobody. I stumbled upon this movie by pure chance one night at like probably about 11/14. Sometime, that time of the night where you're just kind of flipping through trying to find something to watch, but you don't really give a fuck about what it is, and then you see something like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Oh, I know these actors. Let's give it a go. And here we are.
So it's so this is a cable TV movie discovery then.
It is absolutely, totally, and it kind of makes sense in a way because when I tried to do some research on this, I couldn't find like a concrete release date.
I saw 2003 was the release date, and it was a small theatrical release. It was the first movie by the director, and his name was Coulson. His name's what?
Greg Marks.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, it was his first movie, and it did get a theatrical release. So I'm going to assume that he might have like submitted it to some film festivals. Back when film festivals were legitimate.
Yeah, it's been 2 years on the film circuit.
It turned into. But here's I first off, he obviously was not very old because he's like 44 now.
Yeah.
And the movie came out in 2003.
Yeah. He was when I watched the special features part of it. I actually listened to the commentary, the director's commentary on it. He wrote the script when he was 24 and shot it when he was 25.
Okay, so all
really
right.
young.
So I was gonna say he's probably a little bit older than what I had seen, because it's 2020 now, and if he was 25 in 2003, add 17 to that. So anyway, but not to get off track here, but yeah, I just want to know that how did he get this cast? Because this cast is amazing, and for a first-time filmmaker, he either had a real knack for discovering talent or something. But like literally everybody in this movie has gone on to do really memorable stuff. There's no one in here that I can think of that I haven't seen somewhere else.
Yeah.
And for
let's go ahead and blow and hop through that cast real quick because it is quite an incredible cast, like you said. So we got Henry Thomas as Jack, who me and you know through E.T., Cloak and Dagger, and then later in his career he did Suicide Kings. Recently he's done Haunting of Hill House, that TV show, and the Netflix movie Gerald's Game.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't see Gerald's Game?
I did see Gerald's Game. That's the one with Carla Gugino, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I did see that movie. I'll watch anything with her.
He was the pervy dad.
Okay. That's right. Right. I was like thinking, no, wait, the dude that was Commander Pike in the new Star Trek movie. But no, now that you say that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. So go ahead.
Okay. Next on the list here, I'm just going in alphabetical order. It was Blake Herron, who did a lot of TV. His other only real notable thing though was like We Were Soldiers is the only thing I really recognized outside of this film. And he plays Aaron, who's the guy that Sherry is cheating on Duffy with, who's also cheating on him with her Jack. So the guy in the car in the graveyard.
Yeah.
That guy. All right. So then we have Barbara Hershey as Norma, who's Sherry's mom. And of course, Barbara Hershey's been around forever, and in a ton of stuff. The Entity, Beaches, Black Swan, Hannah and Her Sisters, Last Temptation of Christ. I mean, she's a mega list of stuff.
Solid actress, and she's interesting in this role. So we'll talk about that when we do the deep dive. But go ahead. I know you got a lot to go through because the cast, it's not huge, but it's not small either.
No, it's not. Clark Gregg as Officer Hannigan, who everybody will know as Agent Coulson
from the Marvel movies. So
yes.
It's weird to see him with the mustache, though. So it kind of took me a second, and then it was like, oh, that's who that is. So yeah, that was kind of fun. And he's the second actor on screen. So second or third, because it's Elliot, and then it's Barbara Hershey, and then the cop pulls up, and he's the cop. So.
And then we have Hilary Swank as Buzzy. And Hilary Swank has been in $1 Million Baby, Boys Don't Cry, Next Karate Kid, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And she's been in countless movies and things like that. A very good actress. I know she's a favorite of yours.
She is, absolutely.
I can't think of I can think of bad movies she's in, but I've never seen her where she has not put in a good performance.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. I love Hilary Swank. I think she's an amazing actress. I would love to see her in more stuff. I don't know why she doesn't get more prestige parts.
Because she's not very consistent with her role selection.
Well, you say
no, I mean, that's the way it is. When you do bad movie after bad movie, well, that's going to reflect on you. It's having a bad resume. You have a spy resume. I mean, what are you going to do?
I was going to say, like,
it doesn't matter whether or not you were good or not in that movie. The fact that the movie flopped or failed and you're associated with it, you're guilty by association. Now, is that right or wrong?
I get that. But
so
I was just thinking, like, Hilary Swank's career reminds me a lot of Parker Posey. And that, like, Parker Posey, she does a lot of bad. She's a wonderful actress, and in the right role, she's as good as you're ever going to get. But she's a working actress, so if the script comes along and you got a check, she'll take it. So there's something to be said about that, anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Hilary Swank, and go on with the rest of the cast. But there's still plenty more to cover here. So
there it is. I'm going to butcher his guy's last name. Sean Hatosi?
Sure.
That doesn't matter. He plays Duffy. He's one of Sherry's boyfriends. I guess the boyfriend, kind of, sort of.
The public face of relationship, as far as I'm concerned. So she's the one everybody knows she's dating.
Yes, perfect. Couldn't have said it better. You'll know him from The Faculty and Alpha Dog, and he's been in other stuff too, but those are like the most well known. Yeah. Stark Sands as Tim, who's one of the guys in the van. I couldn't find shit on this guy. He's done TV, but TV I have never heard of. So he's the only guy in this whole thing that hasn't really gone on to do anything bigger or better. So
if you're consistently working on TV, it's maybe that's what he was shooting for. Maybe he did movies for a little bit and thought, no, you know what, I want to be able to go home at night and have a life. I don't want to be constantly traveling all over the place to different locations. Some people, people just don't have the chops for it, to be perfectly honest. They do a movie or two and they're like, yeah, no, I'm good. You know what, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. So
that could be very well where he falls into. Next, we have Colin Hanks as Mark, the driver in the van.
Tom Hanks' son.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
Tom Hanks' son. And I was going to say, there's an interesting point. Go finish with this because there's something I want to bring up about Colin Hanks.
Okay. So he's in Orange County. Orange County. House Bunny, King Kong. I think his best role though is Fargo, where he plays. I think it's either season 2 or season 3, and he plays one of the cops in Fargo. Excellent role for him. And I think that's the first time I've seen Colin Hanks like, wow, you're actually a really good actor.
Actually, he's been in a ton of stuff, and the role that I always picture Colin Hanks in is in Band of Brothers. He's in one of the episodes. He is a lieutenant fresh out of West Point. He's just been assigned to Easy Company, and he's never seen combat before. And so he went up to the line to get some combat experience so that he could basically get promoted up the ranks because he was more or less, groomed for a top slot, one of the, office, one of the strategy guys. Mm-hmm. But he's in that. But the funny thing about it is that the ambulance driver, Rick Gomez, the shorter ambulance driver, who's maybe got like 2-3 lines in this particular movie, but he actually went on to play George Lutz in Band of Brothers. And he was one of the main characters throughout the entire series from beginning to end. So I just thought that was an interesting. I always wondered if because I think that those were made. I want to say 2005 for Band of Brothers. I'm not positive on that one, but I know it's after this because this was 2003. And I was always curious if Colin Hanks being cast and him had anything to do with this movie, or if this is a movie where they met and they knew each other and recommended each other for roles, because Colin Hanks' father, obviously Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks was one of the producers for Band of Brothers. So I'd love to know more about that. But anyway, go ahead.
Next we have Ben Foster as Eddie, who's the third guy in the van. He's the poor man that loses his junk. You'll recognize him from Hell or High Water, which is a great movie. 310 to Yuma. I love his character in 310 to Yuma. And Alpha Dog.
I've seen 310 to Yuma, but I don't remember a whole lot about it right off the top of my head. So I may have to go back and.
He's oh God, what's his name? Russell Crowe's right-hand man.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's trying to free Russell Crowe like the whole entire time, and it's funny because at the very end, Russell Crowe shoots his ass. Oh. Spoiler, sorry. Check out 310 to Yuma. I love that movie. Well, anyways, so we have Patrick Swayze as Frank, and if you don't know Patrick Swayze, like I said,
you don't own a television.
Right. So here's a fun one. I did not know that he was in the Rosanna video, the Toto video.
Patrick Swayze?
Yeah. He's in there.
All I want to do when I wake up in the morning is see your eyes. That Rosanna video? I'm going to have to go back and watch. He must have been one of the dancers.
I'm sure he was. So I'll have to go there and look through it too. But he's credited in there for it. And then we have The Outsiders, fantastic movie, which we need to review. Red Dawn, we could do a review on. Young Blood, we could probably skip, but I enjoy it because it's about hockey. I totally forgot about this. The miniseries North and South.
I didn't forget about that.
I did.
It's a great miniseries.
It was so huge back then, and I forgot all about it. Forgot he was in it, but yeah, he was that also made him a megastar. That shit. Oh, and then to top it off, on top of that, he did Dirty Dancing afterwards, which really threw him over the top. And then Roadhouse. Fuck that movie, dude. Fuck Roadhouse.
Roadhouse is pure uncut entertainment, my man. If you if movies were a drug and you were a drug dealer, you would fucking double down on the Roadhouse action. I'm just saying, it is everything you want in a movie about a cooler and his new team of bouncers, and nothing that you don't, and one of the greatest pair of boobs in cinema history. And that's all I got to say about that.
It's the blonde-haired love interest?
No, the other one, the
I
blonde.
was gonna say, that girl's flat as a board.
No. The blonde girl that gets up on stage and does the strip tease. Those are some spectacular boobies.
Okay. All right. I don't know. The only thing I can say, if it wasn't for the movie Roadhouse, we wouldn't have Peter Griffin going, Roadhouse. And that's the only contribution to that movie that I will give credit for. Ghost, Point Break. Classic.
Steel Dawn. There's so many great Patrick Swayze movies. Steel Dawn's not one of them, but there are so many great.
No,
movies.
it's not. And then probably, I guess, either second. I can't remember which came first, this or Donnie Darko, but he was also in Donnie Darko, which I love, and I think we need to do a review on that one as well. But yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and again, for a first-time film director who's 25 and writer, how the hell he landed Patrick Swayze, I'm kind of like, wow, bravo. Yeah. You know,
he's got the tail end of his career too. You know, I mean, because at this point, you know, he did this, he did Donnie Darko, he's doing more small indie stuff.
I wouldn't say that it was the tail end of his career. I would say it was more he was switching gears from being the love interest to kind of, you know, going the Brad Pitt route where, you know what, yeah, I'm not going to be 35 forever. I want to show people that I really can act. And that's when you saw like Brad Pitt and, you know, George Clooney. They weren't doing even Matthew McConaughey, because Matthew McConaughey has done just a ton of bad rom-com movies. I mean, they paid the bills and they made him a star, most definitely. But after you've done, you know, 10 of those, it's time to prove that you have some acting chops or go get a job as a car salesman at Frank Lita Ford and Honda. It's one of those two. But yeah, no, this was when Patrick Swayze, I really do think, was switching gears because, you know, he was the love interest in Ghost and he was the love interest in Dirty. He was always like the cool, you know, kind of outsider and all that. And then finally he started, you know, he did Donnie Darko, which his performance in this is very relatable to Donnie Darko, but he was genuinely showing that, you know, he's not doesn't always have to be the leading man in everything to give a great performance. And, you know, Donnie Darko gave us, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm.
So
and his sister, Maggie.
Yeah, that's right. Maggie Gyllenhaal was in there too.
They played brother and sister.
Yeah, and it was, you know, surrounded by a cast of phenomenal veteran actors. I mean, Drew Barrymore, and the mom who played President Rosalind on Battlestar Galactica. Just like everybody that was in that movie, except for the two leads, were serious actors, and somehow Jake Gyllenhaal managed to outshine everybody in that movie. So kudos to you, Jake. Do the same for some younger actors that are coming up. That's all I got to say.
Rachel Lee Cook as Sherry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So Babysitter's Club, She's All That, Josie and the Pussycats. She's most known now for her voiceover work. Robot Chicken, Final Fantasy video games, Star Wars video games. She did some Batman Beyond work. So yeah, her voice now is paying the bills.
She still looks
wrong with it.
Terrible. I mean, she's still absolutely stunning looking.
Oh, yeah.
And I know she does some TV stuff now and again. But again, Rachel Lee Cook is just another one of those. She did like what She's All That, and that was with what Heath Ledger.
No, that was Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, okay, all right. So anyway, but you know, Rachel Lee Cook, you know, did She's All That, and she's got acting chops. She's got serious acting chops, but I don't know why more didn't happen for her. I'm almost.
I think she kind of falls in that category too, like you were saying. You know, maybe she just like, you know what? I don't really need all this. I'm fine lending my voice to do stuff. That very well could be what it is.
It
But
could be that.
she hasn't done a whole lot of movies. She did a handful of movies and then did some voice work, and that's what she's doing.
So, well, I mean, as long as she's happy and occasionally pops up every once in a while, I'm thrilled for her.
Yeah.
So, I'm a fan of hers. I've loved her since Josie and the Pussycats. I never wanted to like that movie. Not a movie that I went and sought out by any stretch of the imagination. It was one of those that I was at a friend's house and he's like, "Dude, you got to see this movie," and he threw the DVD in, and I'm thinking, "Oh God, what are we watching now?" Because this was right around the time that Charlie's Angels with Lucy Liu. That was a big hot movie at the time, and I was totally not into it. And Josie and the Pussycats completely won me over. I can't believe that there's not a Blu-ray release of that movie at this point. I own it on DVD, and I can't believe that there's actually two cuts of that movie: the family-friendly version and the original theatrical version of it on DVD. And all they did was cut one joke out. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. So,
Jason Segel as Leon, who's the one of the paramedics, and Jason Segel's been. I forgot how long his career has been. He's been around forever.
obviously, the Muppet movie hit with him and Amy Adams just came out.
Long before that. Dead Man on Campus, SLC Punk, the Freaks and Geeks TV show, Undeclared TV show. These were MTV shows, like in the late '90s, early 2000s. How I Met Your Mother, I Love You Man, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall was the one that really made him a name. So,
what's that?
I said Forgetting Sarah Marshall was the movie that really made him a name. Because I want to say
no, he was a name.
No, I'm just saying in the not for movie geeks. I'm saying in the popular zeitgeist, in the popular consciousness, because most people had no idea.
How I Met Your Mother.
Niche stuff.
No, How I Met Your Mother was the big one. That TV show went on for seasons and seasons and seasons. You're out of touch, my friend.
I never watched. I'm not out of touch.
Hang on a second. How I want to say it. Your film and TV snobbery has took you out of touch with the mainstream audience.
You know what? I'm just going to say that the mainstream audience, a lot of the times, is wrong. And I don't care. I don't care what people think about that statement. No.
All right. So last in the cast is Rick Gomez as Kevin, the other ambulance driver. You'll recognize him from the Band of Brothers TV show, like we mentioned earlier, the Justified TV show. He's also in Sin City and Transformers.
So he was killed by Marv in Sin City. He was one of the two hitmen that were sitting outside of Marv's place, and they were talking about the fine sports cars. So it's a short scene, but it's a really memorable one. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway,
so let's dig into this plot. Well, I guess before we even start to the plot, let me say one thing about it. It is not your typical film structure at all.
No.
It's in let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's basically five sequences that tied together. Not necessarily really around 11:14, because some sequences actually run past that time.
Yeah.
But all the major events kind of occur around that time.
Specifically, two events happen at that time.
Yeah.
At exactly that time. But it kind of is how all this seemingly unrelated stuff ties together. I won't say in a neat package, but there's a lot of subtext to this film. There's a lot of I don't know. It's character driven, but at the same time, it's kind of kind of like watching a train wreck in slow motion. It's just one of those you can't quite turn away. I have some complicated feelings about this movie, just because of what it is and how it's presented. And it's a beautifully rendered film. It is incredibly well shot. It is perfectly edited. It is literally a monument to great editing on this one. Uh, the
This
performances are solid. I don't know that there's any like real standout performances, but I think that has more to do with the structure of the script than the talent,
mhm.
because everything is competently done, but there's no real meat in a lot of these characters. And I'm not saying that in a demeaning way. I'm just saying that this is a film that all revolves around one character, and she turns out to not be terribly likable, and it's basically the wake of destruction that is left in her wake. Um,
That's a
uh,
great way
I,
to put that.
I don't quite know how to talk about it. It's a complex film, but at the same time, it's a very simple film. Um, you start off and you've got that opening sequence, and it's Elliot from E.T. I can't remember his character's
The
name.
character's name is Jack.
Okay, well, it's Jack's name. It starts off and you have Jack, and he's driving down the road, and he's obviously intoxicated, and I think they show him actually taking a shot from the
Uh-huh.
bottle, and he hits something, and you're not quite sure what,
Well,
and
he's talking on the phone, so
yeah,
not only is he drunk driving, but he's also distracted too.
yeah,
And he passes underneath the bridge, and then the body just smashes the
lands
shield.
right into the windshield, and he's not sure what happened, so he pulls over and he realizes that he actually hit somebody. Um, and lady pulls up and has that, oh, hey, I just got this brand new cell phone. I never used the thing. Let me call the cops for
Yeah.
you.
Who's
So
who's Barbara Hershey? Who's Norma, Sherry's mom in this? But you don't know any of that. As far as you know, it's just some random lady.
yeah, exactly. And so he decides that he's going to try and hide the body. So he grabs a tarp out of his trunk and he grabs the body and he throws it into the trunk of his car. And right as he gets in his car to try to drive away, that's when the cop lights kick on behind him, and the police officer comes up and asks him if he's been drinking, and he says no, and he's like, well, would you do a breathalyzer? And he's like, no, but I'll do a sobriety test. And they ask him to do the alphabet backwards, which he manages to do. I'm going to assume it's because he's practiced, not because he's not intoxicated. um, and then, that leads to him asking for his driver's license and registration, which he doesn't have. And he asks him to step out of the car. I might get this a little out of order. I've only seen this movie twice, so this is all mostly new to me. But it winds up that he wants to check the trunk of the car, and when he checks the trunk of the car, he discovers first he thinks it's the deer, and he's like,
I love it. He's like,
You sick fuck. You think just because you didn't shoot her, you can cart her off?
Her?
I don't see any antlers, do you?
he assumes it's a doe, and then his excuses, Jack's excuses. Well, I didn't want it to go to waste,
nice.
and then as the cop is examining the trunk, he realizes that it's actually a body.
Yeah, when he sees boots instead of hooves.
Yeah, and so he places Jack under arrest, and he has to use a zip tie because he's out of handcuffs. And then you find out in just a few seconds as he walks him back to the car to put him in the back seat that he's already got two people in the back seat of the car. This gives him the opportunity to cut his wrist tie, his zip tie.
Zip ties, yeah.
He cuts his zip tie and he takes off running. And as he takes off running, he winds up in the backyard of Barbara Hershey, the lady who had just been pulled over and called the cops for him. And he says something, and she's like, I got to find her dad. And then he's like, why? What's wrong? What can I help you with? And, find out that her daughter had been hit by a car. And, you find out her child had been hit by a car. I believe that's how they phrase it. My kid got hit by a car, and I need to tell her dad. And the cop shows up, and
then she has to look on her face because then she realizes like it may have been you.
Yeah,
I thought you hit a deer, but you may have actually hit my daughter, and she fucking smokes him beside the head with a flashlight.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when the cop shows up and says something like, he hit somebody on the highway, and she immediately thinks you hit my daughter, and smacks him upside the head with a flashlight. And refresh my memory. What happens in the rest of that scene? Is that where that scene ends, or?
He takes off. He runs to the wood. He trips and falls, and the cop and the mother catch up with them, and yeah, they say, you killed his daughter, or you hit his daughter, and he's like, daughter.
Yeah.
And then that's how that sequence ends. Yes.
And then from there they cut to the three guys in the van, and they are just out for an evening on the town, tearing shit up because there's nothing to do in small town America, and they got mom's minivan, and they cut this one weird because they show what goes on in the van, and then they go back to it a little later on. Just structurally, it's odd. But what we first see is they're driving down the road, and he fills up a glass bottle with shaving cream, and they throw it at a sign. And then one of them's deciding that he's going to light a book on fire and throw it out. And there's much argument over the proper technique to set a book on fire before chucking it out of a minivan window. And then
there's a jelly donut out the window at a car.
Yeah, they throw it, and it's Patrick Swayze's car. It splashes on his windshield, and he turns his window wipers on, and it smears all over and makes a mess. And then one of them decides that he's going to pee out the window, and he's gonna just keep amping it up. So he decides to hang his junk out the window, and the driver of the van is like reaching back and punching him and giving him, a hard time about getting pee all over his van. How it's going to mess the paint up, and they hit somebody walking down the street.
That is a brutal fucking shot because they show that body fucking launching.
Oh yeah.
It was so well done. The makeup effects in this movie were top notch.
Absolutely.
Everything is incredibly realistic, very believable. It looks like the way I would imagine a body getting hit and just skidding across the pavement. It's just very gruesome.
and the sound of it is correct too. I mean, the sound is it's one of those, like, when you hear that web thump of somebody getting hit in the head really hard, it's got that same kind of audio texture to it, to where when it happens, it's like, whoa, wow, I did not expect that. That was really brutal. But then you find out that the window slid shut, and the gentleman that was peeing out the window.
Before that,
car accident. There's the car accident. Then a guy comes over, sees what they did, pulls out a gun, starts shooting at the van. They drive off, and then we discover that the one of the kids that was peeing out the window. Well, the window slammed shut.
Eddie listens.
Yeah, Eddie had the window slammed shut on his junk, and he's bleeding pretty badly, and he doesn't want to live if they can't go back and get his penis. So they go back, and the ambulance is there.
Well, they have an argument over it. Mark doesn't want to go back. Mark, the driver, who's Colin Hanks, doesn't want to go back. So Tim, being the good buddy, is like, no, this is bullshit. I'm gonna get your dick for you, buddy. So
that's a friend right there. That's a real friend.
Seriously, no, that is a real friend. Any friend that goes back to fucking grab your fucking severed penis better be your fucking best man at your fucking wedding. So.
I would hope so, if there is a wedding. But anyway, it's a very involved, very emotionally charged argument. And it boils down to, what, we need to get our story straight, because if you're not going to lie for me, I'll let you bleed out here in the van, which is really dark, really heavy.
Well, Well, that happens after they retrieve the penis. Mark actually, so Tim runs back to the scene of the crime, and there you have the ambulance drivers already there, and that getting everything clean. They had pretty much everything cleaned up at this point for the most part. And he's looking around for the penis, and he hears one of the ambulance drivers says, "Yeah, we got this frozen penis on ice." So Tim's like, "Oh, okay." So he looks in there, he sees a little cooler that has the biohazard sticker on it, opens it up, sees the penis, and is getting ready to go out. And then the ambulance drivers confront him, like, "You know something about what happened here, don't you?" And,
no, I'm a kleptomaniac. My therapist says I'm making real progress, but I steal things just to steal. Yeah, I just wanted to steal the cooler. That was his excuse the whole time. But he does manage to get the penis and get away. And
Patrick Swayze pops up right then and distracts them, the ambulance drivers. So that's how Tim runs off and gets away.
Yeah. So they hop in the minivan and he tosses his friend his junk, and I guess they're off to the emergency room to get.
I like this line though. I like this line he gives.
Sorry it took me so long, man. I was looking for something bigger.
Which is nice, added some levity to the scene. He trying to make his friend laugh, and it kind of works.
It's very much a guy joke. It is very much like, they had the dynamics of guys that hang around all the time and know each other and know each other's, buttons, how to push them. They nailed that. That is a perfect example, writing wise, directorial wise, performance wise, out of the park on that bit. That is how guys talk when there's no one else around.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that sequence, and then it immediately cuts to Patrick Swayze in his house and very loudly eating a ham sandwich, I guess, something, watching TV, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with his daughter. And we get our first quick glimpse of Rachel Lee Cook in this one, how she's kind of tying some of this stuff together, but you're still not quite sure how. So
at any rate, so he goes to walk the dog, and that's when he discovers the daughter's keys, and then he discovers the body.
Yeah.
So he puts two and two together, thinking that she has something to do with it. So now he's going to have to dispose of the body.
Well, here's the thing. He actually realized that. The body's pants are open. They don't show that gratuitously, but it's indicated. And Patrick Swayze even says something like, "Oh, you pervert," or something like that.
Oh, you little pervert. You left her no choice, didn't you?
And then when he sees the state of the body, he's kind of like, well, you probably didn't leave her a choice. So I think he's assuming that his daughter has been sexually assaulted and she killed the guy. So he decides that he's going to have to try and cover up for everything that's happened at this.
Right.
And it's most definitely played that way. And he's not mistaken in thinking this. You find out later. But so
he's mistaken in the fact that the circumstances weren't what he believed them to be necessarily.
Yes, but she did set circumstances up to not look like what they were.
This is true.
So anyway, he gets the body and he drags it to his car, and he is trying to figure out.
Not to Frank's car. He drags it to the guy's car, who is. Hang on, let me find the character's name real quick, because they only mention it once or twice.
Aaron?
Yes, it's Aaron. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so she drags him to Aaron's car, and so he's in Aaron's car with Aaron's body in the back of the car, and he's driving, and the three guys from the van earlier throw the donut at the window of his car, and his car window is smeared with custard or jelly or whatever it was that was
Jelly.
all over it. So he doesn't have any window wiper fluid. He's not going to be able to drive much further, so he decides that he's going to go ahead and get rid of the body by dropping it over the overpass. And when he drops the body over the overpass, it's the body that's hit in the very first scene of the movie. So they've tied that together. These three stories have tied together beautifully into how they all interrelate to each other. Then from that, he decides he's going to go home, and he finds the flaming book and decides to drop it in.
But before that, when he's getting ready to dump the body, a car drives by, a Camaro drives by, and the dog is on top of the car licking the jelly
off the window,
off the windshield, and so Frank is like crouched down behind, waiting for the car to go by. The car finally goes by. Then he dumps it off. But then after he dumps the body off, the dog grabs the shirt, Aaron's shirt that has Aaron's name on it, and runs off. So he has to chase the dog down to get the shirt back. And that's when he finally gets the dog, finally gets the shirt, he walks up, he finds the burning book. It's like, well, fuck it, let's burn the evidence.
Yeah.
Burns the shirt, getting ready to lift up the manhole cover. When he lifts up the manhole cover, that's when his wife pulls up. He's like, oh, honey, what the heck you doing? Oh, damn kids, flaming shit, so kick it in there and cover it back up. And I believe that's how that one ends.
Yeah, they drive off.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they drive past the store. And you see the Camaro parked outside the store.
Okay.
And that's where that one picks up. And it's actually, they always start each new segment by showing the time on the clock.
Yeah.
And when they cut to that, it's Hillary Duff, and she works at the gas station, and Duffy comes in.
Hillary Swank.
Huh?
Hillary Swank. You said Hillary Duff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Her name. Wow.
Duffy and Buzzy.
Okay, so
it's Hillary Swank and what's his name?
Yeah. All right. So anyway, so we cut to Hillary Swank, and I think her name's Buzzy.
Buzzy, yeah.
Yeah. She works at the convenience store, and Duffy comes in, and by the way, everyone's Buzzy, Duffy. There's all these 2-syllable names. So anyway, he walks in, and then the three guys from the minivan walk in,
yeah.
He is telling Hillary about how oh damn it, what is her name?
So Sherry. So he needs money for
clip that out. Just you take the Hillary Swank section.
So anyway, Hillary Swank's in there. It's obviously getting late. It's getting about closing time. So Duffy walks in. It's like, hey, you want me to lock up for you? And she's like, sure. So she tosses him the keys. He locks up, puts the close sign on, and then he proceeds to tell her his sad tale of woe. It's like, I need money for Sherry's abortion. I don't know where I'm going to get the money from, this and that. And so he tries to get her on the scheme where just say you're robbed, present this idea to Buzzy. But I was like, oh, fuck you. I need this job. I got a sick sister or a relative that I need to take care of. I have to have this job. So they do that whole exchange, but, Buzzy doesn't have none of it. So Duffy breaks out a gun, and she knows that, Duffy ain't going to shoot her. You're fucking nuts. I'm not doing that. I'm not helping you out. And about this time, it was actually somewhere in between there is when the three guys show up.
Yeah.
And in the minivan, and they come in real quick, buy their stuff. They buy the jelly donuts, they buy the whatever they need, and then they leave. Yeah. So a little bit later, when pretty much Buzzy's like, screw you, I'm not helping you out. That's when Sherry shows up. And so Sherry's like, I need to talk to you, Duffy. So they go back in the cooler, and they cut back to Buzzy. And so Duffy leaves his gun right there for Buzzy to play with. So Buzzy picks up the gun, starts twirling around, doing stupid shit with it, being very, very reckless and dumb with this fucking gun. So she does this little cop roll maneuver, goes up, and actually she's gonna shoot, but she actually pulls the trigger, shoots the cooler.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Breaks the fucking glass, and she's like, now she's freaking out. Because she knows now she's gonna be in trouble, you know, how she's gonna fucking explain this shit. Well, now fucking Duffy's like, all right, we're gonna put this all together now, so you can have excuse that you got robbed, you know, there's a gunshot, you know, all this shit happened.
Yeah.
And, but Duffy's like, well, I can't fucking lie, I'm a horrible liar. So you're gonna have to shoot me. And Duffy's like, what? You know, you're gonna have to shoot me. So they have the exchange and they agree to it. Duffy shoots Buzzy in the arm, you know, pinches some skin together, some flesh.
Yeah.
Shoots. So Duffy takes the money then and leaves. And so then Duffy's in the Camaro and driving, and then he drives past Aaron's car and sees Frank's dog licking the jelly donut off the windshield.
Off the windshield, yeah.
Which is such a weird thing to fucking see. He's like, all right, whatever. Keeps driving past, and then he sees Sherry's car. And hey, Sherry, I got the money. You know, we could do this. And Sherry's like, okay, cool. You know, so she gets out, walks over, and does he actually see it there?
Yes.
Yeah, he does see it there. Yeah.
Car hit again. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see Sherry get hit by the minivan. Boom. So now you know the three guys hit Sherry. Aaron was there, so now you know that was Aaron who walks over to the body, pulls out the gun, and starts shooting at him.
Oh, not Aaron, it was Duffy.
Duffy, yeah, sorry, Duffy, who's shooting at him. And by then, the cop pulls up, Agent Coulson.
That works by me. So that works by me. Go with it.
so Agent Coulson arrests Duffy. Ambulance shows up, and while they're talking, Agent Coulson sees the money that Duffy got for Sherry, so she had the portion. He like put it in her hand, you know, because at that time he's all distraught and shit. You know, it's like, oh, you know, I had the money and this and that, la 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 la. So Agent Coulson sees the money, knows that he fucking robbed the place, and then he opens the ambulance door. There's Buzzy in the back of the ambulance, you know, with her gunshot wound. He confronts her, and of course, you already know at this point that she's a shitty liar and just says, you know, yeah, I was part of it, whatever.
Yeah.
So she gets arrested, gets placed back in the car. So now you know that those are the two guys in the back of the cop car from the beginning of the movie with Jack.
Yeah.
So that's all that ties together. So from there, it then cuts to Sherry's story.
It starts off and she's laying in bed and she's talking to one of her girlfriends and they're discussing the abortion that she's getting the next day. Her friend's asking her, "Are you afraid?" and all this, and her friend obviously knows she's sleeping with two guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it Aaron's or is it Duffy's? And she's kind of like, I don't know, and I don't care, and it doesn't matter anyway. So all that is going on, and she goes out into the living room and she has a brief conversation with her dad, Patrick Swayze, and she asks to borrow his car keys because I think she's having car trouble. And oh wait, I'm ahead of myself here, aren't I? No, what happens is
you are.
Aaron shows up, is what happens. She's inside, and Aaron shows up, and Patrick Swayze says something to the effect of, "I thought you two weren't together anymore."
Yeah.
And she's like, "We're just hanging out." So she goes out to Aaron's car, and
Frank has a reason why he doesn't like Aaron, and he says point blank, if I find out he hits you again, he's dead.
Yeah, and so he's got a predisposed idea or a notion as to what kind of man Aaron is, but at the same time, based on everything else that's going on, you kind of think that may not be true, but we'll get to that. The irony of it is that I think if anybody actually hit her, it was probably Jack. because he already has a DUI on his record. He's got a habit of drinking and driving and doing all kinds of really bad things. He's kind of in on everything that's going on. He knows that she's scamming two guys.
Yeah, he's a sleazy character.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
Aaron just kind of comes off as just like your typical metal guy, you know?
actually, he comes off as your typical suburban mom and dad metal guy.
Yeah.
They get in the car and they drive to the cemetery, and she asks him if he has the money, and he says yeah, and she's like, show me, and he's like, what, you don't trust me? And they go through this whole thing where they're running through the graveyard, and she's like, do you want me? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, well, you got to catch me. So they make this whole game out of it. But then they get to the funeral or the cemetery. They get to the part where she's going to have sex with him. And she actually takes his wallet and pops it open. And she's like, a check? and he's like, yeah, what's wrong with the check? And she's like, it better not bounce. And I'm thinking, that is totally, I borrowed the money from my mom and dad. I wanted a receipt for it. That is so, the suburban metalhead kid. Mom and dad have respectable jobs, but he's really into Metallica. And that's exactly how it plays out in that one. So they are in the throes of passion, and the tombstone gets moved, and the angel head that's on top of the tombstone cracks and falls at the moment of climax, and it smashes his head in. And she decides that she's got to figure out some way to cover up what just happened, which I don't know the why she felt the need to do it, but the important thing is she did feel the need. And she remembers that her boyfriend Duffy has a bowling ball, which is roughly the same size as the statue head that just smashed this dude's head in. So she's going to go get the bowling ball and make it look like Duffy did it. So she even goes so far as to call her girlfriend and say, hey, Duffy just saw me and Aaron together and he was so mad. So she is setting up.
Oh yeah, she's planting the seeds
to take the fall for this. So she then goes to the convenience store where Buzzy and Duffy are, and she says, hey, I need to talk to you. And you get to find out the conversation in the cooler was like, I need the money, I need it tomorrow, I'm getting the procedure done. And the whole time she's frisking him, trying to figure out where his car keys are. And she figures out where they are, and then the gunshot happens, which gives her perfect out, her escape. And she says, hey, can I borrow your jacket? And he says, yeah, sure. And he gives her his jacket. And she immediately goes outside and gets the car keys out of his jacket pocket and gets the bowling ball out of the trunk. But then her car won't start. Or I guess it's Aaron's car won't start. So she has...
It's her car.
Was it? Okay, you're right. It's actually her dad's car.
Yeah.
It's the Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she has to jumpstart the car because the car keeps dying. So she jumps off the car, then she gets the bowling ball, then she goes back to the cemetery where Aaron's body is, and she realizes when she gets there,
hang
on.
The
body's gone.
But before that, as she's driving past, she sees Aaron's car drive past because Frank took the car.
Yeah, so
she's like, what the fuck? And then she arrives at the cemetery and realizes that the body's gone. So she's like, she has no clue what the fuck is going on now at this point.
She drops the bowling ball, and she gets in her car, and she's going to drive away, but the car won't start.
Yep.
And then the three guys in the van pull up, and
no.
Yeah. Yeah, because he offers her a donut or a tasty beverage, and
no, that happens earlier. That happens earlier in that,
oh, wait,
in that
I'm sorry,
sequence. That happens like almost at the very beginning of that sequence.
You're right. I'm sorry. It's before she.
No, we're almost at the very end of the movie here.
They actually say that Duffy is at the convenience store, and that's how she knows to go there. So my bad. I kept that one a little out of order. Anyway, she's trying to get the car to start, and then what? Duffy pulls up.
Mm-hmm.
and Duffy says, "Hey, I got the money," and she gets out of the car and she goes to walk across the street.
Hang on, hang on. There's
Oh.
one little detail you're missing. She's
Oh, what's-
actually talking to Jack at
Oh,
that moment when
yeah.
Duffy pulls up, because she says she's got part of the money, and then Aaron pulls up. I got the money. She's like, "Oh, I have all the money now."
Yeah.
And
And so she's walking across the street, and as she's walking across the street to get the money from Duffy, that's when she gets hit by the three guys in the minivan. And that's where the movie ends. Her cell phone spins into view, and it is 11:14 on the face of the phone, and snap the black credits time. So I don't know about this film. I don't. It's not a bad movie. I'm not implying that it is, but I notice a lot of things about it. It's got a stellar cast. It's well directed. It's beautifully edited. It is a masterclass on how to play with time in the format of a feature film. But at the same time, it's like I kind of get why the guy who wrote and directed this, like he's only got one other feature film credit.
Mhm.
And to me, it again, not a bad movie, but this came out after Memento, and this kind of strikes me as somebody wanted to make his Christopher Nolan play with time movie. And there were a lot of movies that kind of popped up around that same time. Everybody kind of having their own spin on how to do non-linear editing. I actually think like Pulp Fiction really kicked that off.
Yeah.
And Christopher Nolan did Memento, and it was a very like hot trend to do non-linear storytelling. And so you see a lot of films that are in this similar vein that came onto the scene. This one had the benefit of having, like I said, a really stellar cast and somebody who really knew how to cast for roles really well, because you buy every performance, you buy every character in this movie. At no point does anything come off as disingenuous. Um, but at the same time, none of the characters come off as terribly interesting either. They're all very tropey. The only good guy in the film is the cop. Everybody else is kind of shady. Everybody else has shit that they've done.
Frank's just being the dad trying to cover up for his fucking daughter, like what any parent would do.
Well, I'm not saying that him covering it, but the fact of the matter is that dad is most definitely being manipulated by her. But then again, everyone in this film is being manipulated by her in one way or another, with maybe the only exception being the three guys in the van. And they're not being directly manipulated by her, but they're being manipulated by a situation that she was directly a cause of. So it's an interesting film, but at the same time, it's obvious that there was a lot of care that was put into structuring this film to not just writing it and editing it and all that. The craft is impeccable on this, and just based on craft alone, this guy should have done more film. He should have had more money thrown his way.
And that surprised me, as because like, how haven't I heard of more of stuff from this guy? Because like, whether or not you like the movie, like you said, you can't deny the craft. The sheer craft alone is fucking, like you said, it's just incredible. It's like, how has somebody not picked this guy up to do other things? I guess we have to watch this other movie to see what that's like.
Yeah, we'll have to see his other movie to know for sure. But I don't dislike this movie. It's like I said, it's a fine film. The performances are really well done. It's definitely worth watching. But I don't love this movie, and I wanted to have stronger feelings about this film. But I mean, at the end of the day, I've watched it twice. And I just I get done with it, and it's just like I get why you would have a if you caught this at the right time, it would most definitely stick with you. And it's got some, like I said, it's got some memorable stuff in it. It's got some good stuff in it. But why does this movie stick out to you? Why do you recall this film so fondly? I mean, this movie's 17 years old, so
because it's the unusual structure of it, and like you said, the sheer craft of it is just incredible for a first time director and a very young director at that.
Yeah.
You know, it just amazed me. It just floored me. It's like, how did you craft this? How did you splice all this together to make it work so seamlessly?
Mhm.
So, and then you have the cast too on top of it's like, oh my god, I recognize that guy. This guy went on to this guy went to that, and then you have these other seasoned actors that they're doing these roles. And it's just a sequence. I love dark humor. I really love dark humor, and this movie has dark humor in spades. And when the guy said, when I watched the director's commentary, and he said that the Coen brothers, was like an influence for him, I could totally see it again. When I watched it again, I was like, oh my God, yes, this makes perfect sense. All those little things of subtle humor just really resonated with me, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I, I can't. I really can't gush enough about this movie. I really can't. Again, the structure to me, I think is unique. Yeah, Memento came out, and Memento works in a backwards progression. Where this, I mean, everything crisscrosses at different times in the movie. Because while one interaction is going on, even in the background, if there isn't like a direct interaction between the characters in their particular sequence, in the background you can see vehicles driving by and characters doing this and that. The integration is crazy good. I I don't know why it wasn't released as a major, why did it have a bigger release? Why was it such a small release? I kind of get it. It's a very niche film.
Yeah.
But with that cast and the craftsmanship, I can't believe it didn't get picked up. Especially, spending 2 years on the circuit, on the indie circuit, from like 2003 to 2005. It was on the circuit, and I don't know. I'm at a loss why it didn't do better than what it did. I don't get it.
You're right. The director definitely does deserve more recognition for the film, and like I said, I'm willing to forgive some of the stuff in this movie because it is a first time.
What's stuck in your craw? Like what is it that like just didn't jive with you?
Well, okay. I mean, like I said, none of the characters are particularly likable. You're not rooting for anybody in this movie. There is no
I'm okay with that.
protagonist.
I don't think you need to root for everybody in every single movie, especially in a movie that has this structure where you're not meant to at least you get what you need to know
I
in every sequence, and really you get a good sense of everybody's character in it too. You know who's a good guy, who's kind of a bad guy, who's kind of scummy, who's not kind of scummy, and really these are just everyday people that just make shitty choices.
Yeah,
and those shitty
and
choices
dumb
come
choices.
back to haunt them. But
Yeah.
anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I mean it's just like I said. You're asking me why, and I'm like thinking, like, like I said, it's not just that there's no one to root for. I mean, this is kind of condemning small towns in general. It's basically saying everybody knows everybody and they're all shitty people. That's really the message of this film. There's no two ways about this. Um, uh, uh, you know, she doesn't have any money. Her daddy buys her everything. Oh well, you know this person, and the three idiots driving around tearing stuff up because there's nothing to do on a Saturday night. Well, you know this person,
Yeah.
you know. Um, the idiot that his license is suspended, but he keeps getting DUIs anyway. You know this person.
Yeah.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, I guess there's it lacks nuance. It lacks the characters. Rachel Lee Cook's character especially. You could have played every other character here as straight. And it left it exactly all their performances exactly as they are, and it would not.
I think everybody's played completely straight.
Well,
I don't think anybody's really hamming up except for Hilary Duff, and even then, she's such a good actress that it comes off completely believable.
Oh, sure. No. That's again. You're asking me why I have a problem with it, and I'm thinking, I don't need to necessarily root for anybody. All right, maybe I should have phrased that better, but I don't identify with anybody in this movie either. What I have a beef with here is that like these are all dumb, shitty, horrible people. And if you want to fix this movie, if you want to make it to where it's definitely more relatable, or at least I'm rooting for somebody, or at least identifying with somebody, there's only one character you can really do that with where it works, and then her death is tragic, not good. The bitch got what was coming to her. And there, I mean, there you go. I mean, at the end of the day,
I never root for her to die. I never root for anybody to die. I just think it's just an interesting sequence of events that happen where these in some cases they're really small choices. That or things that they do that affect them. The only people that really do out and out like flat out stupid shit is Duffy and Buzzy. Or the only ones that really do flat out like dumb shit. Like we're purposely going to rob the store, and I did stupid shit with the gun, so I shot the glass out. I mean, they're only people that do like really retarded dumb shit. Everybody else is kind of like their circumstances and the small, teeny little choices affect them.
Wait a minute. You have three guys in a van, and one of them gets his penis cut off because he just decides that he needs to piss out the window while they're driving around town. That's the epitome of fucking stupid choices right there.
It's a stupid choice, but it's not a criminal. It's not a criminal dumb choice.
No, I'm not saying
it's just an unfortunate dumb thing.
Criminal.
And then because of that, Colin Haynes turns around and looks. It's a poor choice. Was it a criminally dumb, stupid choice? No, it's just things that you do all the time. Every parent is turned around to fucking look at their kid do something stupid and you fucking correct them. That shit happens all the fucking time. So it's just an unfortunate thing that What's-Her-Face had me walk across the fucking street. If What's-Her-Face hadn't been fucking yakking on her fucking phone, she wouldn't have got hit by the fucking car. So it's an everyday choice that people do all the fucking time. So again, it's not people doing really like retarded things. It's everyday shit that, well, you know what? You're going to pay for that little mistake that everybody does all the time. And I think that's the thing you're kind of missing is everyday occurrences that people do that they're not necessarily bad people. They're just people. And like you said, these people. You see them every fucking day. It's like
you know them. It doesn't mean you want to hang out with them.
But
I know.
I think you're being a little too fucking high and mighty about all this fucking shit here.
I'm not trying to be high and mighty. You asked me like literally, like I said, it's not a bad movie. I would recommend it. It's very watchable. But if you want to know why I think that it kind of got lost in the backwater, I'm just saying, if you had a character that was relatable in this film, not one that I mean, I know people like Duffy. I don't want to hang out with them. I know people like Buzzy. I don't want to hang out with them either. I know people like, Tim and the guys in the van. I don't want to go for a drive with them,
So you never once rode around in your buddy's car doing some general mischief?
Well,
ever?
I have driven around in a car. I have gotten into general mischief, and maybe this is just like I'm older now. But
I think that's the thing too. I think you're right. I think you're looking at this at older eyes. I think if you probably would have saw this maybe when you were younger, maybe be something a little more relatable.
Probably,
I don't know.
Probably, and again, it's not a bad movie. It's not a movie that I dislike. I don't dislike. I watch it, and it's like it's a well-crafted movie, but it's just a movie when it's all said and done. And I understand like all the sequence of events. I understand that a lot of the decisions that were made were very minor ones. I get all of that. I get everything that they were going for, and it's all very much there. But again, if the main character, and she is, Rachel Lee Cook is the main character of this film because everything about this movie revolves around her as a character. If
I wouldn't say the main, the
focal
point.
Whatever term you choose to use, just remember everything in this movie turns around her.
Yes.
And every relationship in this movie ultimately ends up with her. And my honest criticism of this is that if they had made her a more relatable character, this movie would have stood up, because then her death would have been seen as tragic.
All right. Here's my final thoughts on this. I think he achieved everything he needed to achieve with these characters. You get everything that you need to know what's going on, and to make these for me all these characters are relatable, like you said, because I know a person that's just like every one of these characters. I probably at one point was one of these characters, probably multiples of these characters at some point or another. So relatability, I think it's fine. And then the dark. I really appreciate the dark humor and the dark tone about this, because it's not supposed to be a profound film, about these characters. I think if you went that route, then you're changing the tone of the movie. He achieved the tone they set for. You can't deny that it's a dark comedy through and through, and that's masterfully done. So I think it's like this. If you can appreciate a good dark comedy, I think you'll really enjoy this film. And especially if you like unique takes on movies and unique narratives and structures, you'll really enjoy this film. Even if you do watch this film and you're like Tony and you don't enjoy it, I think the fact that you can learn something and get some respect and like on how to structure things and get the craft out of it and this and that. I still don't understand why it didn't do any better, why the director didn't get any more gigs, because like you said, he's obviously very, very talented, knows what the heck he's doing behind the camera. Because you wrote a movie and directed it, and it was an anthology, and we had themes that tied together, and that's kind of tricky to do, and it wasn't near as weaving and yeah. So it's just crazy. But yeah, I say if you avoid this movie, you're doing yourself a disservice.
No, don't avoid it by all means. Definitely watch it, but your mileage on how much you like it will vary. And again, I don't hate this movie. I don't dislike this movie. It's just it's there, and I get done watching it, and it's just like, well, I would have enjoyed it more if dot fill in the blank. That's where I'm coming from on this. I don't dislike it. I wouldn't run out to buy it. But if it was on and someone was watching it, I wouldn't be all like, "Can we watch something else?" So
no, but yeah, I highly recommend this movie. It's definitely up there for me, and one of my favorites. Like I said, because I only seen this movie like really, I think just the one time, and it's stuck with me that much. Watching it because I've seen it probably like in 2008, somewhere around that time, and I didn't really watch it again until we brought it up, and I said I wanted to do a review on it. So yeah, that's how much of an impact this film had on me, and the way the way I just appreciate the structure and the tone and all that.
See now, there's another movie, and this is good luck finding this one because I had to hunt and I paid way too much for my copy of it. But there's a movie from the mid-90s, and it's called Positive ID.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the first movie I could ever remember seeing that talked about anything about identity theft. And it's about a woman who was sexually assaulted, and she decides to take on different characters to kind of escape the all the bad stuff that happened to her in her past. She has a husband and she's got 2 kids and she's like doing the normal suburban housewife thing, but at the same time she's living this alternate lifestyle that really kind of, you know, is her trying to get away from being the victim of a horrible crime. It's a brilliant little movie and it's amazingly well done, and I had to really hunt. There was never a Blu-ray release of it. I had to really hunt to find a DVD of it, and it was an out-of-print DVD, so I had to pay for it. And I want to say I wound up paying like almost $40 for it for DVD in 2019. But I did, and I rewatched it, and it held up amazingly well. So if you can find a copy of Positive ID, nobody's in it has gone on to do anything of note. Nobody that was involved in it's anything else. But it is one of the first indie movies that I can remember seeing that I really loved the movie. And it was like played on cable, and I watched it several times when it was on cable because I really enjoyed it that much. And then trying to find media of it was almost impossible up until very recently, when I want to say it was like Warner Brothers like decided to do like their indie vault films, and they like grabbed a bunch of films and they did like 5,000 pressings of these movies on DVD for one time only. That's kind of where we are on this. So I get exactly what you're saying, and I have those kind of films, you know, in my back catalog too. I think people would probably enjoy Positive ID. Is it a perfect film? No. Is it as well crafted as this film? No. But you know what it does have? It has some really fascinating character work, and it's a really shitty situation that's written very honestly. And I think that if you watch 1114 and it's not your jam for the reasons that it's not my jam, give Positive ID a shot. I think that probably is your jam, and you'll see that you don't have to have a ton of money to craft a film that is very relatable, that you're rooting for the characters, and that you know, are like thinking, well, why haven't these people gone on to do amazing things? They did this. So give that one a shot.
Oh, by the way, this was on a $6 million budget, so it wasn't like a high budget film.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. And that's a $6 million budget.
I want everybody to think, you know, as you're spouting all this stuff up about all these other films, like, no, this is very much a cheaply done indie film.
Yeah, and well, 2003 was before digital cinematography, so like that, if it's a $6 million film in 2003 money, that means that probably $1 million of that budget was film stock and film processing and editing. So, you know, think about it in that terms. It's more like a $5 million film, which again, it's miraculous that they got what they got for what they spent.
Absolutely. And guys, you can find this movie on Amazon. You can find it pretty easily. 1114. I actually got mine off of Amazon, the DVD, but you can actually rent it too for like what, $2 or $4 or something like that. And then, what out there do you guys like? It's like an unknown film that you just love, or an indie film that just like stuck with you for years that most people don't know or have never heard about. Comment, let us know. At this point, Tony, what are we watching? We're reviewing next.
I'm torn here, because you know, part of me wants to say Forever Amber, but then Megaforce. We are going super old school, and we are going way back. We're going to be watching 1947's Forever Amber, and having a very long discussion about the film, the book, and the controversy surrounding it, and why no one but me and old people remember this movie.
Because it's from 1940 something. Right
So,
on.
but that's it. That's what I got for you. That's what we are reviewing next.
Right on. See you guys next time.
Peace!